everybody, it's Kate Quinn. Welcome to Sew Steady Facebook Live on Sundays with Kate from Fabricated Quilts. And today we're going to be doing the pizza combos. What does that mean? So I've set it up where we're going to do a couple of different borders and their combinations, either one template mixed with another or mixed with two, mixed with three. All of my borders are the same size. These are all 3 inches wide, but we will also talk about how you can adjust the size based on the templates that you choose. So I don't know if you can see this right now, but this is actually quite large, and I've got it hooked up to my suspension system so that I can move very easily. I'm pretty excited, so I'm definitely using it and enjoying it. Let me show you our first victims for today, our first templates. And I got to tell you guys a surprise. So my daughter is helping out today. Her name is Elisa, and she is going to be helping relay questions today. So it's her first time. Go easy on her, but she's here to help, and she's volunteered her time. So I'm very thankful because we have a 21-year-old son birthday tonight, and Honey is managing the kitchen right now. Okay, so let's get some marking tools and have a little conversation. Do we have any questions yet?
I don't know how to look at them.
Okay, let me get my comments up, so making sure that Elisa can see them, and we'll get started. If you can see and you can hear, make sure to let us know if we need to make any adjustments. I'm pretty excited. Oh, it's really loud. All right, there. We won't have any duplication of sound bothering us now. So we're all set up, and she's going to help me keep a watch on those comments. So the first one I want to start with is this is the Mini Baptist fan, and this is actually the largest one from that set. And we're going to use 2 of the different hearts. Having different sizes is always really, really helpful when you're working with the corner. So let's talk about the corner really quick. We're going to actually use this information more than once. So let me scoot it up a little bit. So my glider and my suspension is just pushed back a little bit. The quilt is just moved back. And I'm going to just mark this area right here as a square. Okay, nothing fancy. I'm just going to use Donnell's awesome marking ruler. The reason that I want to know where the square is I want to work the corner first, right? Because I want the corners to be pretty and fairly precise, because that's where people really look. Whenever we're doing something, they always tend to have their eye drawn towards that corner. And so it pays to put a little bit of extra attention right there. I've already got the diagonal right there, right on the seam. So that's nice and easy. I don't need to mark that. All right, let me put some tools away. Now, we need to decide what we can do to make the corner match the rest. So let me show you where we're going. I got my notebook here somewhere. Can you grab that, sweetie? This is the design that we're going to do. It's not super complicated. It's pretty easy, right? We're going to use that Mini Baptist fan, and it will do this very easily for us. And right when we're at the top, this position is going to be where we're going to start the heart. But I want to put a diagonal heart going 45 degrees in the corner. And when we talk about the corner sizing, this 3-inch heart is going to fit squarely in this border like this. If I just went this way, or even if I went this way, because it's a square. But this diagonal right here, any square, the diagonal of that square is whatever the square value is, like if it's 3 inches, times 1.414. That is not complicated math. That's just a number. You can just keep that in your brain, and that's always true of any square, any diagonal. So we did the math, and this one is going to come out to 4.2 for this diagonal. Well, guess what? That means I could probably fit my 4-inch template on there. I don't know, maybe I can. But look at, see how big it is? It's going to come outside of this, and we don't want that. So we might still need to use our little 3-incher right there to make him fit. Because we don't want anything going outside the boundary. That's the bottom line. So we'll use this right here. We'll still use our 3. And as we travel out, you know, this is what I do at home. I don't always know if something is the perfect fit. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I think this might be a good idea. But then I draw it out, I put it on the quilt, I test it, and I see. And I always use my stitching line discs. So let's make sure that if you don't have those, you really, really should get those. They're such a great little tool. You can just get, I have a lot of them because I have like lots of different half packs that have been gathered up together, and my little pin magnets and everything else. And I take that usually to class, and that way I have enough for students as well. So these are 8 in a package. There's 2 of each size, and I definitely recommend that you go ahead and get those because they are really valuable. You can also get those in our design pads now. I don't know if you guys knew that, but they come with the new Sew Steady design pad. So let's go ahead and we'll get started. And right here, the way I would work this, if this is the design, I could put the whole heart in and work from that way, or I can just put half. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to come back to where my center mark is right here. We're going to actually make that center mark. And that's where I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to push my design out from there, the little arcs and everything else. That way, that's the path we're going to use to connect everything. Okay, I got a fancy thread. It's really bright. Can you see it? Ooh, this is Poly Sheen, and actually I have a blue bobbin. We'll see how well that works. It's always tricky when you're using vastly different colors. I did have to do a big tension adjustment to make sure that this would be working well. We'll see how it goes. Because that blue dot is just really wants to show up on this white. Okay, so just put this on there. My heart is aligned both directions. It's got the stable tape on both sides because we'll have to flip it over each time. So let me just show you real quick. We're just going to line it up right on that diagonal. Looks like my diagonal is slightly off a little bit, but it'll be all right. So coming in, lining this part up right there. We want to get right to the center. And then, oh shoot, we forgot to make our mark. Let's make our mark here real quick. This part is 1, and I need 1.5. So I'm going to use the little split numbers on the bottom to mark my 1.5. Let's see, this way. 1.5. Okay, so I need to know where we're going. All right, and I think we'll do it this way too, just because that way we can kind of see where the heart would connect up there, right there. All right, we might need to make some more, but this one's kind of off of the workspace, so we'll just make that one later when we are ready. Okay, a lot of talking, sorry, here we go. Put this on. Just gonna get these threads and hold them a little bit and line right up. And you'll see we have a little bit of space right there because he's not quite as tall as he would be if we were just squared up to that space. Okay, I am actually going to bring my tension down even a little bit more because I still see a bunch of that blue, but it works out okay with this particular thread. It actually looks pretty. So we're right at the center, right there on the rest of this line. That means that the rest of our designs are going to go like that. The heart is actually going to go away from that. And the very first thing that I want to do is maybe put one heart in. If I put my little spacer in there, I'm just not sure how he's going to fit there. Let's see how far down he would have to go. We're going to do both of the lines on this, but I want to test here at the corner. I did make the design, but I didn't test this corner as accurately as I would have liked. right? So we've got this line and this line to line it up. This one, I just want to keep the distance here the same. Like I don't want it to be bigger here and narrower here, so we're going to kind of square it up a little bit. And right now, if I do this one, it's actually going to cut right into the heart because the heart's on the diagonal. So this would be where I'm just going to randomly make my own rules, and I'm just going to put one heart going out the opposite direction. And so we'll do that. So these are the kind of testing things that I play with to see, is it going to work? Is it going to give me what I want? So here, let's go ahead. We'll do this part. Let's scoot this guy off. He's preventing me from moving. There we go. He was hitting my throat and not letting me go anywhere. Okay. Into the center, flip the heart over, and just line it right up. We want this lined right up at the center. If we need to, we can always use our spacing gauge, although I think mine is put away. Hey, baby, can you look in, there's a purse that has like flowers and stuff like that. I think it's over on that side, and my spacing gauge is in it. Okay. Yeah, that. Just give me that. All righty. All right, got the tools we needed. They were hiding, but they're ready to go now. So I was at the shop this week because one of my machines was going to get fixed up, so I had to bring some tools to work there. Let's check the... So the template right now that I'm using is the 3-inch heart from the Westerly Hearts. And just want to check right there and make sure it's not going to cross over the line. It's real close to that edge right there. I'm going to bring it in next time. It's just a little tight right there. Now, I want to kind of come out to the edge a little bit so I can put that next heart in. We're going to put those little arcs in there, and we need to start from out on this area. So let's go ahead and kind of get myself back out to the edge. I'll just lay it back on there. I'm going to kind of do it slowly because I want to make sure I stay right on the line. And then let's see, I think we'll go right to the edge because that's where we want to be. Right on the edge of the seam right here to put this next heart on. I mean the next circle on. All right. One of the things that I like about this Baptist fan, the mini Baptist fan, if I can push this up like that and I touch it, I can get the arcs that I want lined up very easily. I've got this center mark. Let's see if we can adjust that camera just slightly to give you a little better view. There's a center line right in the middle of our mini Baptist fan right here. I'm going to line it up on the purple line, and then I'm lined up right here on the center. And I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, we want to get up a little bit, come up to this other side. I don't want to cut into the heart below, so I'm just going to scoot up a tiny bit. Okay, so we'll put the arc on there. Comes right into the heart right there. And then we'll just travel right up the seam allowance, and we'll do the other side. This is going to make that perfect 1/4 inch space, and then just come right back to the center right there. Okay, and now this is where the heart is going to line up right there. Got some thread back there stuck on something. All right, so here we go. And again, I guess I'm having a little visual trouble because I'm far away, but I want to just make sure that that's not going to cut over into the existing black. I want it to stay right on the white. I was a little bit far over on that other side, so I want to double check it a little bit more this time. So this is something to consider when your design is exactly 3, like this one is right now. Then sometimes you might have, if you're not accurate with your seam allowance, you might have trouble because you might not have it exactly measured perfectly. So let's see, I think we're gonna have to come in just a little bit on this one. I'm gonna come up just 1 or 2 stitches because I can tell on the back he's gonna go over into that border over there, and I don't want that. All right, so here's what we'll do. We're gonna make a little fudge, and you can help me. We'll come right to the center here. This is the middle of this circle right here. So I'm just gonna scoot this in just a very tiny bit, like 2 or 3 maybe microns, right? Just enough to make sure that the very edge of this heart is gonna come in and connect with his little friend there. Okay, so we're gonna stop right there. Once we put our other arc on, then we'll decide what the spacing is. We'll come up a little bit. The way that I did it the last time is I went ahead and I lined this up and I was touching on this side, and then I went ahead and I stitched out on the boundary. So we need to kind of get to that boundary a little bit. We'll just come up a little bit. And then that let me put this right at the top of the heart. Okay, that way we won't be stitching into the heart. Darn it, he is stitching right into it each time. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not just gonna keep doing it wrong like this. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, and we're gonna check it with our spacing gauge each time. And what I'll do is leave a little room for correction when I do the next one, right? So this one, I know that I need this much space. So when I go up to the top and I adjust for my heart, I'll probably just rip this one arc out and correct it a little bit. So I'm gonna give myself just a little bit of space to come back up. So I'm gonna just move this arc up about 2 stitches, and then that way we'll just put him right there. And that way we can have a little bit more room. Let's go all the way across, and we'll come back to the center and we'll put that heart in. Okay, all right, there we go. Let's see if we can turn this just a little bit so we can show the alignment a little better for you and for me. So I'm going to release my suspension a little bit because I need this quilt to kind of turn a little bit towards me. So we'll see what happens. You saw how easy it was to sew. Well, it might be a little bit harder now. All right, let's make sure our center line is right in the middle at that 1.5, because I'm not sure we had it lined up properly before. Okay, and I'm going to check this side also and make sure that it is also at 1.5. So it's just slightly inside on this side, so it's going to be a little tricky. We need to sort of be right in the middle. This one is not showing up too good. There we go. There we go. All right, now we'll have a little bit of a better visual so we can line that up. Okay. So I guess my spacing actually is a little less than 3, which is why we're struggling right here. Okay. So here I was able to get perfectly right at the seam right there. So let's go ahead and flip this over and get lined right up. And I'm checking down on the bottom, and let's make sure with our spacing gauge that we can make that fit as well. I lost it. He's hiding back there. So let me show you. Right here, we're looking right there, and it's going to be a little bit close. So what I'm going to do is I think I'll come right up to the top, which is the right height. And then I'm just going to move this in a tiny bit, just so I can make sure that my stitching won't go outside that boundary. As long as I leave this in place at this point, when I get back up to the top, it'll be fine. So I'm right there on that outer edge, right where we want it to be. Now I can go ahead and put that arc in a little better. Visibility is important. We were not getting good alignment of that before, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to travel right up the ditch, just a few stitches. We decided that we needed just a little bit of room. So I'm right inside my ditch right there. And then I'll align this right to the top right there. That way I can make sure that my arc is definitely not going to touch the heart and not cut into it. This outside edge I want right where this stitch line is. And once I have it lined up and aligned on the center, that's when I'll go ahead and position that foot. Oh, it's a lot harder now that I'm not using my suspension system. I need to clip it back up there. Let's get some of these tools off of here. Oh, he's very heavy. He's hanging down on all sides. Now he's causing trouble. You want to go see if you can find those little legs and we'll clip it back up on the back side, baby? Once we get that first line into position, we should be touching right there. So I'm going to realign it back on the center line. I'm just going to stitch right up the ditch, real gently, right against that black seam, and then we'll put this other one right in there. Right to the seam. They're those little black legs, those little roundy legs. Like that one? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There should be one more. Here, give me that one. There should be one more somewhere. So if you can, yeah. So it's going to go on that side. You're just going to roll up the edge of it, right on the corner, and just clip it right on that back side. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so she's learning how to use my suspension system. And you'll see, like, all of a sudden it's going to move so much easier. Yeah, just stick that in there and just give it a little hug. Perfect. Yeah, so you can see right away it's taking up some of that weight already. So as we sew, hopefully it'll be a little bit easier now. So let's go ahead and we'll do our little heart. And again, I can see right there I'm going to have trouble. So I just want to tip it just a little bit so that I can get right to that center position. Oh my goodness, so much easier to move. And I should have corrected it right there at the center. So I'm just going to correct it right there. Fudging, that's what we need. All right, so we'll check this other side with our spacing gauge and get the bottom lined up. And again, I think I'll need to do that same thing. I think that this particular area is just a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to fit really nicely, and it isn't. It's just really tight to the spacing that we have. So I'm going to adjust the bottom just to get me down to the center. Oh, very nice. There we go. And let's come back out to the seam. Do you guys have this? Like, you think a border is a certain size and then you have to make an adjustment, right? That happens to everybody. That's the real deal when we're actually quilting on a real quilt, huh? It's always really easy when it's just plain fabric and the line is perfect. But it's not perfect today. All right, so we're going to line up this opening right against the center and right against the heart so that basically the template itself is actually touching where the stitching is. And then I'm going to bring my foot right to the ruler. And he's coming right with me. You'll see that this is probably going to be our best arc that we've done so far. And then just gently, I'm going to sew right up the ditch right there until my foot is on the opposite side. Whenever I'm using a single one of these templates, the Mini Baptist fan, you get a really pretty 1/4 inch spaced line. When you work on one side, on this side versus this side, this space is going to create a 1/4 inch in between the two of them. So you have really good center alignments, and you can use the pin, but you don't always need to use the pin. Oh, you guys, I didn't go back up to the top. How was I going to put that in there if I don't go up to the top, right? So let's see. See if I can get myself back to the top now. Nice and easy, right? Try to sew right on the existing line. Oh, perfect. There we go. We did good. Okay, let's put that heart in now. Oh, he's so tricky. All right, where's our center line? Darn it. That line is just going away so quickly. I'm going to use my blue marker right now so we can see it a little longer. It wants to disappear. Right there. Must be really dry here today because that purple marker just vanished in the blink of an eye. All right, so trying to adjust maybe just slightly so that we can kind of work on this and not have it be too tight. We'll kind of come right to that center position a little bit, and then we'll adjust the top, right? This is going to bring us right out to the seam pretty much, and then I'm going to make sure that this is centered right there, just a little bit of an adjustment. Getting right to the center, and then we'll do the other side. Yeah, I like that I could use my Baptist fan, and actually the reason I used it is I was trying a different design, and I'll show it to you. And it's also cute. I just didn't know that if we would have enough time to do it. So we'll see if we do. So right here, I know this is bigger right there than what it needs to be in order for me to get down to the bottom. So I'm going to just go to the center right there and scoot this in just a tiny bit to make sure that I'm not going to sew outside that boundary because I don't want to. Okay, so I'm right on the boundary right there. We said we're going to sew up just a little bit here, right in the ditch, using our straight edge to get us up just a little bit, just to give us enough room. Once I position this, I only have to position it one time. I can put all of this in the center, and I can line this up right on the top of the heart. And then once I do that, I can make the edge of the foot touch the ruler, and then we can just sew those arcs. Okay, and then just creep up your ditch right there. So I get both of those arcs aligned at one time. Okay, and then I'll come right back to the center. This is also very useful. I mean, if you have this template and you're able to then make both of these lines at the same time, you don't have to reposition. That's just a nice way to use it. I mean, there's always more than one template that can do the same design, and I think we often see that. We know that that's true. So it's really just about using whichever one you're most comfortable with. Ooh, that one fit really good. So that maybe my seam allowance is really off. It fit perfectly right there. All right, so I think it might fit pretty good on that side too. It's looking actually pretty good, and I'm making sure my bottom area is aligned. So right here, let's just show you real quick with the spacing gauge what we're gonna get. I actually think that this is gonna fit perfectly. Sometimes it hasn't. I mean, you guys have seen that, but I think on this one it is actually gonna do well. So I'm just gonna let it do its thing. No adjustment required. This is right out to the boundary right there. And now we're right in the seam allowance. So let's just scoot up. It's about 4 stitches when we've been sewing. 1, 2, well, maybe a little bit more. I'm sewing slowly. The edge of the foot right there is kind of touching that spacing right there where the stitching is, and that's where we're trying to line that ruler up right there too. So I'm trying to get it to be a little bit more accurately positioned right there, so I'm not having to fight with it. Oh my gosh, this quilt is just moving so easy. A lot of times when you have those bigger quilts, you do not have that nice, easy movement, and I have to say, I'm really liking my system. I only have 2 clips because they were trying to make sure everybody got some, but I'll be ready for a couple more when it's my turn. So touch right here in the ditch, and then we'll just come back to the center, and we'll put our heart in. Now on the paper that I put out there, I did also create a larger space, and the other thing is we are constantly doing like this side And so we have a difference in stitching on this side to this side. That's okay. We're doing a little bit more travel on this side, but either way, both sides, I would want to ditch them. So at this point, I don't think it matters if you're switching the heart to do it more evenly, but that would be something that you might consider. That would be something you'd want to do. Let's talk for a minute about what happens if we're trying to do this all the way around and our borders don't match up, right? I already thought about that. I thought a lot about what I might do if the borders don't match. If the borders don't match, the reason that we're using two different templates is giving us the freedom to make an adjustment for spacing. So if this were the center right now, and for example, a heart cannot fit in this space, number one, I could put a smaller heart in there just because I can. It'll fit in there, like the 2-inch will fit fine, but it'll be shorter. So I could use a smaller heart, or I can actually just move this up a little bit up the line. I could travel up here and I could leave a little space and I could make a little double arc and leave a space and make a little double arc. And I could make the arcs kiss in the middle. So basically, I'm just fudging whatever I want in the center to create a little visual detail and a little visual interest out here on the edge if it doesn't fit perfectly. And that's something that anybody can do. You guys can all make any adjustments that you want. So this obviously is a little bit wider. I could use this in a space that is wider than a 3-inch. This would fit up to 4 because this circle is actually 4.5 inches wide. So you could use this particular template in a 4-inch space. If you needed it even bigger, maybe you could do the 8-inch arc on a 6-inch border. That might work as well because you need something that's a little wider than your existing space. Well, and then in the heart set, if I had a 6-inch border, I could use a 6-inch heart or a 5-inch heart. I don't have to make it fill up the space all the way. Like you could see that if we did a narrower heart here, we would have less stress, less trying to make it fit in that 3-inch. So you have the ability here to do all kinds of different sizes to make the border fit whatever space that you prefer. And that's one of the things about mixing and matching and having sort of two different ones. That gives you a little bit more freedom to not necessarily have to have everybody perfectly perfect, right? So that fit in there pretty nicely. He's looking good. Hopefully we can make this other side fit as well. And let me get him lined right up at the bottom. So I'm going to check this space just because I think it's going to fit, but yeah, it's going to be perfectly tight. So I'm just going to watch it a little bit as we go because I don't want to sew on the black. So I'm just going to try and treat it real gently. There we go. Perfect. He fit in there nicely. So it definitely looks like I had some wonky stitching at certain spots down near the corner. It got better as we went along. All right, so let's just go up a few stitches. I'm going up, getting my foot touching this heart right here. This is what we're looking for. That was the random rule that we decided because we wanted to make sure we're not going to be cutting into the existing design. So I'm going to line that right up and center it right here, and maybe I think one more stitch because it's tight on one side and not on the other. This will give us a little room on both sides. All the way over, right into the ditch, and then we'll just stitch right up the ditch, right along the black until the foot touches. Okay. Back to the center so we can do our next heart. So I'm going to check in with Elisa really quick and see if she's noted any questions. She'll be able to scroll through, and then if you see any questions, you can just let me know, okay, at any time.
There was one question. Kate, so when you are sewing the arc with the Baptist fan, are you sewing up against each side of the opening to get that gap between lines?
Yeah, Linda, that's a good question. I definitely am. I'm sewing on both sides. this has a space in here, and actually when I'm on this side, the foot will be sewing 1/4 inch away, and then I'm just going to travel on the ditch to go across to the other side, and then when I put the other arc in, it's going to make that 1/4 inch spacing. I saw something about spacing. Yeah, so Kathleen, you had a good question. I saw that you mentioned, do I check my spacing? Well, obviously I didn't check it well enough. So if, for example, if I knew that my spacing was so troublesome, like this one was down on the end, seemed like it was really tight. I'm not sure if I had my center line aligned. I can see it much better now because I'm looking, behind the camera. So down towards the center there, I think that it was a little bit tricky. It wasn't as clean as I wanted it. So I probably will pull 1 or 2 of those out. But if it was this tight, the arc won't matter. I can still do the arc, but I actually would probably even get a smaller heart. I would actually do maybe a 2-inch heart. It won't matter that the heart is a little narrower than the 3-inch heart. It would be a 1/2 inch on each side, but then at least it would fit precisely in the middle. So I think that would be the solution if my border is that tight. I wouldn't want it to be that tight. The thing is, then the problem with that would be if you use the smaller one, then you can't travel up the ditch as easily, because this is designed where this one is putting you right on the outside edge, right in your seam allowance, so that you can move up. Mary Mike Bennett, I'm going to answer your question. You asked about the design pad. Elisa, can you grab my design pad? It's on the desk right there. It's a really big, like, gridded pad. So Steady has come up with their new design pad item, and it's really big. It's about 17 inches and something. It's on the desk, honey. It's that gridded thing with the little blue corners. It's the paper. Yeah, that big thing. So that's to allow you to practice your designs on paper. And because it's designed to be working with paper and your templates, then you're also getting those little stitching line discs with it as well. So here's an example of the design pad. It's quite large. I can't even fit it on here. See, it's pretty big. So it's allowing you to have, I think it's 17 by 17 is the square right here. And then these are, I don't know what markings, 1/8 or 1/4 inch, 1/8 markings, I think. And that lets you just practice that, okay? So here, baby, I'm going to give you that back. So that's just something, if you're working on designs and you kind of want to keep your designs and keep track of them, then that would be a way that you could do it. So let's go ahead, we'll line this up again. We'll check with our spacing gauge since we are real tight. I'm just going to try to make sure I can for sure get into that space right there without any problem. Okay, and then I'm just going to scoot that slightly over so I can get into the center. Perfect. So fudging is good. That's helping us make sure that we can get our design nice and clean. On this side, again, I think this is a little tighter again, because that seems like it would go right into the black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch right to the center, right here where this little mark is. And then that's the highest point, so I should be level with the other side. And then I'm just going to tilt it slightly, just very slightly, so I can get just a little room to get that stitching to fit inside that seam. So, and then I'm right at the seam right there. And we'll just bring the foot right up along that ditch. I can even use my spacing gauge if I want to be really close to the edge right there. And I'm just moving up until the edge of the foot there is touching. Okay, and we'll put that last arc in. And again, I can't fit another heart into this space. I'm aligned right with the ruler, and I'm right on the center line. And I'll show you what I mean by we can just go ahead and put a few more arcs in there. Like if this gap was too big, but I can't fit a heart in there, so I'll just scoot up to the other side right there, put the other arc in there. Okay, now I'll just push this up and I need to scoot up just a little bit more until the foot is touching, right? So right there, again, the foot is now touching that existing stitch line right in the center. Make sure I'm touching the ruler. And come up again, and we'll put one more in. So I can just fill in the rest of these arcs until I'm done, or basically I can just say I'm finished. And that's just a way that you're filling in that space. You can also create that same pattern. Like if you have that 1/4 inch spacing right there, well, I can just keep that, but maybe I can put a bigger gap, like I put a 1 inch gap or something like that. So let's go ahead and we'll finish this up. I'll just cut these threads, and I'm just going to pull this a little bit out so you can see a little bit better. With it all clipped up, it's going to make it maybe a little bit more challenging for us to show you the design. So we'll try to come out a little ways so we can show you a little bit more. Okay, so we have a nice, cute little like heart stack, just like that. And we might have to think we still have to correct that one right there, which kind of cut into the heart. I'm definitely going to move that up. But I think we made room for that, and I think it's going to work out just perfect. So really think it looks cute. We had some varying spacing there, so when we put that little gap in there, I think it's going to be absolutely perfect. It's going to be a smart. And I love these colors, right? They're going to show up really, really great on the black. So anyway, you can pick 2 templates, and what you're thinking about is, if I do one design, what is my spacing to the next one going to be, and how do I get there? Those are the 2 things that you have to ask. So we played with that spacing a little bit. I was going to try and come right from the top of the heart. I think it works better if we come up the ditch a little bit and we create the gap. So that's what we did on the rest of these. We sort of made that adjustment on the fly. But those are the 2 questions that you have to answer for yourself as you're building these border combinations, right? And what happens when you can do 2 templates together, I think it offers visual interest for the design. It makes it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more fun. And so let's go ahead. We're going to put our next one in. And I'm going to hold on to my little dowels real quick. I need to let this down so we can bring the quilt closer to us again. So, but boy, I love it. So easy to move. We'll have to put these back on, but I want to get us to our start spot. So I have lots of thread here. We're going to work on this black this time. We're going to start here. Again, this is 3. This next design is more forgiving. It doesn't have all the big heartache of having to fit so perfect. So let's go ahead and we'll get the combo. So this one was the pepperoni, right? The pepperoni pizza. You just added 1 item to your pizza, right? So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add 3 items, 3 templates to make this design. We could possibly even add more. At the end, can you show? Yeah, Deborah Ryan, I will show the quilt suspended. So right now we're kind of at the end right here. So I can't suspend this yet, but as I move out this way, it'll start to get a little heavier. And right now I got this part in my lap. This is kind of all rolled up in my lap right here. So when you're doing that, you need to sit really close to your machine so that you can actually kind of bolster this part of the quilt. And could put a suspension right here on this corner of it. I just don't have enough. I only have the 2. So if you have the 4, you'll be able to put one a little bit closer towards you, sort of on your left side to suspend the edge up right here. I just don't have enough of those right now. So, okay, so let's talk again. I want to put this design right on this center area right here. We're going to make it like this. And again, I did the math. And you don't even have to do any math. You can literally just put it on there and you can see that this can fit. This is the Spinifex number 11 and the size is the 7.5 inch size. So if this is the 3-inch border, you know, this isn't actually 7.5, it's actually half of that, right? Which is 3 3/4. Well, this is like 4 right here. So this design is going to actually fit right on this diagonal perfectly. He's not going to go outside the lines or anything. So here, having 2 different sizes This diagonal is not going to fit like this when I put this on. You can see he's way too big for that. But this is the 5.5 inch Spinifex number 11, and that's stitching out at 2 3/4 for one iteration. When they give you the measure for the Spinifex, they're assuming that you're sewing it once on one side and once on the other side. So that's where that 5.5 comes from. So the actual measure from this point to this point is 2 3/4. Well, when I lay this on a 3-inch border, it's going to fit perfectly. It's not going to fill the border to the very edge, which is great, so we won't have that problem like we did before. This is actually very forgiving. It's not going to require you to have a precise fit. But that's how you can just put it on there and say, yeah, it's going to fit perfect. So we'll do the corner first, and then we'll do the rest of the design. So let me kind of scoot some of these over. I'm going to put these ones away on my ruler rack so they're out of my way. And we'll start with this 11, and we're going to start right in the corner there, and we'll pull up those threads. And then this is the back-to-back 3-2, and we're going to be using this to space our design. Okay? Okay. Here we go. Let's do it on the black because we want to be able to see this awesome thread. Oh, can't wait till my suspension system could be back in action. I might be crying a little bit because it's heavy. All right, right there. Let's put our template on before we set that needle. Okay, let's get it right there in the corner and get these threads out of here. So right there, I can line him right up on the diagonal. I'm going to check at the top, try to make sure he's right in that center position, and I'm going to sew the entire way, all the way down back to the bottom. So I do have everything polished, thank goodness. That's making it very easy for me to sew this. Oh, I love this thread on this black. It is so pretty. Okay, so now I only need this guy for the corners, right? Because he's bigger. So I'm just going to take him off, and I can actually set him aside for now because we're not going to need him again for right now. Make sure you put your tape on. Don't want these pieces getting lost. Okay. So Elisa, would you do me a favor? You want to go back there and clip me up again? Clip this side, and then when we get a little further along, we'll clip the other side. So kind of put this corner right there. See, it's good to have a helper today, right? Can I do this myself? Yes, I can, but then I would have to leave you. I'd have to go around to the other side. So she's helping me today. Yeah, it can come down. It'll bend down. Yeah, so if it was too tall, you can just bow it a little bit. So what she was saying is that it was like way up, and it was like going to pull all of this up like that. So she didn't realize that we could just bend it and make it come down so this area where you're sewing is a little flatter. So, okay, so we got our beautiful little shape in there. So let's start sewing the next shape. So the next one that we want is we want to use this back-to-back 3-2. This is the same one that's in the Fun and Fancy, and I could use either side of this. I could use this hump or this hump. I like to put the ruler foot right into the arc. That really helps me with precise positioning, and I'm going to use this as a spacer to get to my next design. Oh, sorry. And I decided on it because I tried a few different things. I want it to be shallow, number one. I don't want it to dip way up into here. Like if I did a half of a circle, it would come in more deep. I want it a little bit shallow. And if I start doing more of these Spinifex number 11s, this is a good spacing so they will not cut into one another. So I'm just going to stitch right over until I get back to the edge of the black. And you can see I can just move that so easily with that suspension system. Oh, I love it. Sandy, it is a mother's sorrow that my daughter does not like to sew.
I do not like to sew.
She just said, yeah, could you hear her? She's like, I don't like to sew. I got her to embroider a little bit, and we're still working on a project from 2 years ago for her sister's Christmas present. So yeah, she does not like to sew. But you know what? Maybe she will someday. She knows how. So when I look at this, I don't have a straight line to line this up, and I can't line this up on the line. So when I look at the black right here, I want it not to be cattywampus. I don't want it wider back there. I mean, narrower back there, wider there. I want to kind of level this out. It's not going to matter that much. If it's a little bit crooked, it'll be fine, but you know, kind of keep it mostly the same. Okay, so let's go around. That's a lot of talking. Get sewing. Okay, and then we're back to this position. So I'm just going to take the tape off so I can get the key out. Yes, I do have to switch back and forth. I can't really sew this one without the key because you're not going to get this pretty shape here on the top. So I have to have that key in order to do that. And then we're just going to keep on going. Right? Put our little shallow side. Remember that the back-to-back has a shallow side and a deeper side. You can use either, but make sure you're using the one that you want, right? We don't want to be mixing and matching at this moment. So this is giving us the perfect spacing for this design. And then I'm going to show you something cool in just a few minutes too. If you felt like this design was not dense enough, I have a solution for that. So we'll sew a little bit more of it, and then we'll talk about how you can embellish it a little bit. Could I flip them around and put the wider part down at the bottom? Of course. It would cut into that arc if we did that, because if it was a lot wider, it would end up cutting into the arc on the other side. Now that is a design choice. There's nothing wrong with that. If you wanted to do that, you totally could. And you should if you like that. So it's just about choices that you get to make. If I was going to use something like, for example, like the Bloom template. Let me just pull that out. I think I got it right here. Bloom.
People are asking what thread/number thread you're using.
This thread that I'm using is Poly Sheen by Metler. And let me see if I can find the number. 9914 is the number, 9914. And it is one of my favorite threads, and especially on black. Like you can see it's pink and it's like a lime green and yellow and orange. Oh, so pretty. Okay, so if we used something like this Bloom template, we could use this here too. But if we're using this wider side of it, like if we used it like this has the potential to cut into that little back-to-back arc, right? So you would want to knowingly choose that or test it out and see if you like it. But any Spinifex can be used. And then what we're checking is you're just going to set that on there. This is the 5.5, which fits perfectly well in that 3-inch space. You can see that you're going to get a little room there. So any 3.5 will be able to fit with this 5.5-inch Spinifex template. What is on the back of the template? Tape. Right there, just tape. That's all that is. It's just this holding this key in. This is the tape that comes with it. This is actually brand new. I haven't even used it yet. Right? So when they cut these templates, they need to make sure that these pieces don't, you know, fall out. So before they send them out, they just tape them so everybody stays together. Okay, so let's stop talking and let's do a few more. Were there any questions, honey, that came up like about how to do things type of thing? Okay, we'll do a few more of these and then maybe we won't do the whole thing, but I wanted to do enough that we can show you some ideas, and then we're going to embellish this a little bit more because this is the 3-piece pizza combo. So we have to add a little bit more detail onto it. Okay, so right there. And again, lining that up at the top right there, just line it up visually. You don't have to be ultra precise. It's okay. As long as we have enough room on each side so that it's going to look mostly straight, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so I think somebody was answering, I think Linda, you were answering that question. Somebody maybe was asking about this right here, this grip tape. This is called stable tape, and can you, it's in that little red thing right there, sweetie. Give me one of all those little red bags. I'll pull those out. Yeah, just give me them all. I'm going to grab some stable tape real quick, and we'll just put it up so you can see it. Whenever you get your Sew Steady templates, they're going to come with a strip of this, a long strip. And then I cut it into about 1/2 inch pieces, right? So there's a little adhesive on the back. You're just going to pull that off. Whenever you're putting the grip tapes on, you want to make sure they're where you're holding your template. So like if I stick it way out here in the corner so it's not in the way, well, I'm not going to hold my template way out there. I don't usually do that. I usually hold it closer to where the foot actually is. So I think that that is something that's important. Make sure that you play with your template a little bit to begin with before you put the grips on. Then you can determine whether they fit exactly where you want to hold it, you know, whatever your comfort is as far as holding it. So let's go ahead. We'll do one more, I think, of this. I'm right in the hook there. I'm lined right up there on my seam. And then we'll go ahead and we'll just put this in. Alrighty, so we'll do this last one. I kind of wanted to go to the end because I thought it would be easier to do the embellishment, but you know, quilts aren't exactly perfect when we're at home, so we actually have to show the real thing, not how we wish they might be. Okay, so I'll do that. All right, skinny end goes down at the bottom, lining it right up on the seam there, and then checking your spacing on this side. So we'll go around. So one of the things that I wanted to do on this one is it doesn't touch at the top, okay? So that would give us the freedom to make a little design change, right? Because we have a gap right here. We have some space. So I'm going to do something with that, and I'm also going to show you one more idea to be able to use this back-to-back template a little bit. So I'm going to have to let down my suspension system for a minute and see if we can adjust this a little bit. So let's see if we can show you what it looks like real quick. Hey, Lisa, you want to go back and go ahead and clip up the back there for me? Since we're going to go the other direction. The reason I'm rotating it is I do want to make sure that you have a good view. I think that's really important. And if we don't do that a little bit, then that makes it harder. I'm not going to roll this. I'm going to sort of pinch fold it like this. Okay, I don't think that rolling is very helpful. I used to try to roll them, but right now, if I just pinch it, I can actually hold it like this and manipulate the whole sandwich. And then when I'm done, I just let go, right? So if I roll it, it's very stiff and inflexible. And I think that makes it actually harder to work with. So just right there, that one, honey, that's probably all we need. I don't think this one's big enough to get on that clip yet. Okay, all right, so the first thing is the back-to-back template has 2 different depths. This distance right there is the same. So this is a 3-inch spacing. So from the center position right here to here, this is 3. So we did the shallow side, but if I wanted to do the deeper side, I can try it. Let's flip it over. I want this foot hook right around the foot. I can line that up right on that same seam, and I can check right there, do I have enough room without cutting into my design? And I believe I do have enough. I feel like there's plenty of room right there to go ahead and sew this next arc right there. So this is going to be like a little swag. It's just a little bit deeper, and it's going to bring me right back down to the center position right there where I left off right there. Then in order to do that design, I would have to just keep moving down. Your foot is the anchor right here, lining it up right on the line, and you can check this spacing right there too. If your spacing gets off for any reason, if that happens, like right here at the center, this is where you would make the adjustment. So I can't tell if that is actually spaced properly. Let me check. It's actually pretty close, but if it wasn't, if for some reason it was being wonky, like your initial position got off, you would sew to the center, align the needle in the center, and then you could adjust this spacing right here using your spacing gauge right there to get you right into the exact position that you wanted. at the top of that arc, that's where you have the ability to have an imperceptible change where it's not going to be a big problem. So that's where you want to make any adjustments, right there at the top. So if I put this on here and I see that that isn't the perfect fit right there, which it is, then that's what I would do at the top, is I would make the adjustment at the top. So here I'm going to just put my finger back there, make sure that I keep my nice position there holding everybody. And then let's come over to here. So this is the last one. So you can see this would be something that I would want to do and on the second round. And the reason I'm doing it back towards the center is because I'm going to put a little adjustment here in the center, and I want to show you what's going to fit in there. Right now, I'm going to take the same template that I used right there, and I'm going to line it up right on here so that it fills up this center area. So let's go ahead and pull that out. So this, again, this is the larger one. This is the 7.5. This is the one that we actually used to make this. I can actually sew a little bit on the side of it just by lining it up, and I can create an echo that way. Okay, so let me show you the alignment real quick. What I want is the top to fit as best it can, and we might have to kind of sew out a little bit. So I'm going to sew out just a little bit right here on the existing arc right there, that one that's on the top. Now I'm trying to create just a little space right there in order to put this echo in. So right here, about 1/2 inch. We're trying to sort of follow this vaguely. I think I went a little far on the bottom. Right there. Okay. So we're looking for this to be even and kind of get us to the top right there. It's about a 1/4 inch echo. It might not be perfect. I don't care. Okay. So we're just echoing the one side, and we want to just get right into the ditch basically. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just shift things just a little bit more again. It's always the challenge trying to make sure you guys can see. So let's go ahead and unclip this real quick. All right, so we're going to sew down so that you can see our travel. So now we've got a cute little echo here, which is giving a little bit more fullness into this space. And it's decreasing this gap also right here, which is kind of important because this is pretty open. We're going to sew right down the ditch until we're right in line with this right here. All of the curves first and then fit the Spinifex in. How would you travel then? Maybe you could travel along the straight? Maybe so. Yeah, there's different ways to do it. Absolutely. If you feel that that's easier for you, who am I to say anything? You should do it however you feel it's best for you. You know, so many times when I'm doing things for you guys and you ask a question and then I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. So I feel that same way, right? This is the ditch on the black right there. So we're going to sew right along the black, right until our needle is centered. Can you see how much more work I have to do now that I'm not suspended? Oh, so much heavier and annoying. All right. There we go. I got it supported. It's up a little bit more. So I'm in the seam. That's what you hear, that thunk, thunk, thunky sound right there. I think I might need one more to get right aligned. So if I line this up, I can actually use this same one now, and I can use it to echo, and it'll fill the design up to the top. So let me show you. Right there. I'm going to line this right up, right on the center of this other one. So I think we need maybe like one says that our design fits in the space. So I'm going to sew down until I touch and back and come on this side. So let's see. Let me get some of these tools out of here. So I'm going to just make sure that this area is flat and bunched up nice.
A bunch of people are saying.
Dang it.
Oh, now it's back.
Okay, you guys can hear me now? Oh, that's so annoying. I hate when that happens. I start to panic. Okay, so we've got it lined up. And let's go ahead and sew. We're going to put that boundary. Let's make sure that this quilt is supported so he will come with me. Like I said, this one is a little bit big. I mean, he's not king size or anything, but he's definitely got some heft to it. So this is the 1/4 inch on this side, and we're actually just using that 7 coming in until you touch. And it's not going to be the same size. It's just going to be echoing along the top. You know, it's not going to be perfect, the exact shape, but it's going to put a pretty little echo in there for us. Okay, so down until we touch. Oh, I guess I got off the edge of my template there. Okay, so I'm right at the top. Boy, you can really see what a difference it makes when you have that suspension on. I think I'm just shocked myself. You know, I think that I'm pretty good, but I think a lot of the stuff that I do is smaller projects for the camera, and I usually work bigger projects with my long arm, and you can definitely tell that it makes a big difference. So right here, this is our ditch right along the black. We can even put a little tick mark with chalk if we want to have a visual. Let's see if I can do that real quick. Right there. This way we can know sort of where we want our needle to be. I won't go ahead and put that key in. I'll just put it right there. So we're going to line this up with our spacing gauge, and we'll just sew right down. Let's make sure I'm in the ditch real quick before we start. Make sure my needle's all the way against the ditch. Right there. Okay, and then we'll put this on. And you know what? I think I can probably leave my key off for this. No, I can't. We have to be at the top. If I was on the other side, that would work. I could leave it out, but since we're going this direction, we can't. We have to have it aligned. So lining it up right here at the bottom, we'll put our little echo in right there. Right until we touch down at the bottom. Following it right back up to the top. And then we'll do the other side. So I'm going to adjust my fabric a little, make sure everybody's up on the Sew Steady table. Till we touch, and then back. So the little spacer that we did, we talked about using the back-to-back 3-2. Once we start putting these little echoes in, it closes the distance here between these two. It eliminates some of this space. So that's why when I was testing it, I was making sure that this is wide enough that these two will still have enough room to be their own little part of the design, so they won't cut into one another. And that was something that was really intentional that I worked on to make sure that I got that nice fit right there. So I'm just stitching kind of slowly, making sure I can stay right next to the seam there, getting right to that center position. Okay, and then we'll just put this back on. Now, if you have additional back-to-backs, we just used one, but the back-to-back 3 actually has more shapes. It actually has 3 different templates that you could use. So if you wanted to, you have the potential to have some different ones in there. Touch, back to the top, and then do the other side. Just until you touch. All right. I like the echo because without it, it feels like the design doesn't really fill up the space. It feels a little empty. So this to me, I think gives a little bit more of a 3-dimensional feel to it, and it makes it feel just a little bit richer for the space. Now, as we're going, because I don't have the arc on this side to tell me where to stop, I think that we should just pause at this point right here. This will be good enough for the moment. So I'll just tack it and we'll take it off and look at it. And I'll show you the corner again, because what the corner does for us is it uses the same design, so it looks very intentional, but it allows us to turn the corner nicely, because that design fills that corner nicely. It's not too small, it's not too big. We are still able to use it just by moving the template sort of over to the side, which gives us the echo. And it looks really, really pretty for that space. So let's go ahead and we'll just kind of turn that whole thing so you can see the whole thing a little bit better. So right here, this is a little bit bigger. And what you could do if you wanted to is you could actually, from this position, you could rotate the 3-inch template a little bit and echo this just to fill this in a little bit more if you wanted to. Like you could make that, instead of making this come far out like that, you could actually just rotate your entire Spinifex and close this distance just a little bit. And then until it looks a little bit more like that. So maybe you would have a few more echoes on each side in order to fill in that space, but very sympathetic to the whole look overall. And I think that it's going to look really pretty. So that's number 2. That's the 3 topping combo, the 3 template combo. Let's go ahead and just cut a few threads and we'll check some questions and then we'll move right into our last one, okay? So Elisa, did you see anything that needed to be answered? Okay, so if you can scroll back and just see if there was any questions. So let's go ahead and I think we'll sew the next one on the black too. I think the black really shows up well for this class, so we'll do it on the black as well.
Jamie asked, what size needle do you need or do you use for quilting with Fantastico polyester thread?
Jamie, I do use a 9014 top stitch needle. You can also use a quilting needle. They both work really well. That is a 40 weight thread. And so I do feel that for domestic quilters, the 9014 has been very successful for me personally. So if I had to select 2-piece back-to-back set, which one is the best? Deb, I really do like the 3-inch back-to-back. The 3-2 is my favorite. That's why it's in Fun and Fancy. My next favorite is I really like the 1.5-inch back-to-back as well. And those are available in a 2-piece set, and they're only $36 for both pieces, which is weirdly cost-effective, for templates, because some of the back-to-backs are quite a bit more expensive. So I really do like both of those sizes. And then, if you're working with 2-inch whatever, like 2-inch squares, well, a 2-inch back-to-back is perfect for that size. So, okay. All right, so let's talk about our next one. Can you grab that, babe? I'm going to show that design really quick. All right, so I did do my designing on paper. Here's our next one. And I'm going to show you the corner as well. It's both. Now, I posted these right here. So with this design, one of the things that you can do is you can close it by going all the way around with this echo. Like if it doesn't fit perfectly in your border, you're essentially ending it wherever you want it. And you can have the circles on the outside or the ovals on the outside. This allows you to customize the size of it by even changing your circles. Like this is a 1-inch circle and this is a 3-inch oval. Well, if I use a little smaller circle, like a 1/2-inch circle right here, if I had just a little bit more space, or if you wanted to do a 1-inch and then a 1/2-inch, you could create your own pattern with these, and that way you could customize the size. So this is something that's really important that allows you to do many different size customizations. This 3x1-inch oval is in Fun and Fancy, and this is the outer segment of that, and I'll show you both of those. And then this is the 1-inch between the line circle that comes with Fun and Fancy as well. And so this is, again, the 3-inch width, and I'm just marking the center line. And what we'll do is we'll do the corner as we have it here. And that'll just let you see an idea. This is just one idea that kind of keeps the design but allows us to turn the corner. And then these are symmetrical, and then whatever happens, you can, like I said, end it at the middle or whatever you need. You just need to know where your middle is so that as you're getting towards it, you're planning ahead. Okay, so let's get these out. The first one we'll do is the oval, and we do need to mark for this one. We need our center marking. So let me get my chalk out. Can you grab me that? I need the chalk that's in there.
Also, I think we lost the cap for this one.
That's okay, we'll find it later. All right, I'm looking for my chalk. It's kind of fat, but it'll probably work out. Let me get my little, oh, there's my skinny chalk. Okay, let's mark this. 1.5, we said. So we won't necessarily do it all the way down to the bottom, but I do want to show the echo, so we'll kind of at least do a portion of that. And we'll go this way also. So this is the oval. Let me show you the other parts of it. This is our back to back, our between the line circle. This is the 1 inch from the Fun and Fancy, so it's a 1 inch circle. And then this is the 3 by 1.5. So when this sews out, the distance from end to end is 3 inches, and this is 1/2 inch. So this is actually going to be quite a bit of space on the outside, which is why I used this as an echo. When we do this, I want you to think about this. These are both cut from the same piece, but when I push this out and the ruler foot is here, I'm sewing on the inside of this space, which is a 1/4 inch inside. And then when I'm sewing on this is a 1/4 inch on the outside of this same line. These are the same line right here where they're cut. So you're going to get a 1/2 inch differential between these two units. So you actually get 2 sizes. And then we'll go ahead and put the oval in first, and then we'll do some of the additional details real quick. So I want this basically centered as best it can be. So I'm going to look at how much space top to bottom. I can't really align it right on the center per se, because if I align it here at the top, then it's a big gap on the bottom. So I'm kind of trying to fit it so that there's the same amount of space right down here at the bottom as there is up at the top. And right now it looks like about 1/4 inch between the two of them. So let's go ahead and put that in. I've got everybody in place. I want to put my needle right down where I left it. Okay. So when I stop, where am I going to stop? I need to sew the oval, and I need to get onto this line. This line right here, no matter what, is where we're going to be starting with that circle. So coming around, and I'm just going to pull that thread just a little tighter because he's kind of pulled up a little bit. Try not to move the ruler so that I can sew right over my existing line right there. Okay, I want to stop here no matter what, because now this is the alignment for the rest of the design as we go down the line. I do have a little pull tab on my oval right there. So I'll just keep this handy, keep my tape handy. These guys are going to be coming on and off. So I tried to use the mini multi-arc for this design actually, so that I didn't have to take the tape off. And what I found is I could not align things as nicely. I just don't feel like it looked as good. It seemed like the two sides were constantly fighting for superposition with each other, and it just didn't look as good. So I think it's worth going ahead and putting your actual circle on, putting your actual oval on with the tape, switching them out, that's going to make this design a lot cleaner. So I'm aligned on the back, and I know for this first one that this would potentially cut into the oval below. So for this very first one, when we sew the circle, we're going to sew until we touch. I know it's not a full circle, and I'm just going to come right back to the center line, and now we'll start working down this way. And now it'll go much quicker. Now that we've kind of gotten our pattern established and we're right on the center line, it's going to be a lot easier to get the rest of the designs. So I'll just stick that right in there, leave the tape, and I'm just going to scoot that right over there so that I don't have to worry about where he's at or what's going on with him. That's going to let me just easily switch the tape when I'm ready for the next one. So just put this on. Just like we would do with a chain, you have to sew 1.5 times around with this design. So if overstitching is something that bothers you, you might consider alternating which side that you're sewing on, right? As we sew here, I'm going to be sewing this way, and then maybe the next one I'll go the other direction. But if that's too much work, I don't think it matters. You know, we are using a very high contrast thread, but if you were using a thread that was not as high contrast, you'll have more forgiveness, right? So we'll get right back to the center and then pull that tape off and just get him out. So again, now I can leave the tape available. Just stick the key right inside that little circlet and put this on. We're ready to go. So it's not so much that I have the perfect template that I'm choosing this exact one or that exact one. You can fit circles that you have in if you want to. You don't have to do exactly this design. And you can put a spinifex instead of an oval along your line. And you can, use 2 different spinifex that will allow you to echo on the outside, just like we already showed you. So the lesson for today is how it can be really fun and adventurous to just use 2 or 3 different templates so you can play with creating your own little pattern, just to create something that looks interesting, that fits your space well. But it doesn't have to be just one template. It might be more than one. Now that the weight of the quilt isn't in my lap, I can tell that it's a little bit easier. It's still heavy though. So you can see there we just went on the same side, right? But let's go ahead and we'll go backwards. We'll do about 2 or 3 more because we do want to show you the echo. Oh, I put my tape on. See? Ruler dance. It is. I hope you're not bored. Right? Okay, so we'll line that up. Obviously, we lost our line. So let's give ourselves just a little bit more line so we can go ahead and get everybody lined up. Center lines are just really powerful. I think you guys probably have seen, I do them a lot. I do feel like people that are out there, they're like, oh, all right, let's go ahead and we'll do this last circle and then we'll kind of head back the other direction so we can just show you the echo on there. The cord, just plug in the cord, baby. Sweetie, the phone cord right there. Thanks. All right, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start from the center to do the echo because this basically isn't finished. So we're going to essentially stop down here when we do the echo. So I'm going to go back the other way. Yeah, she just plugged in the phone cord. That's why the sound was off, I guess. I don't know. It has a mind of its own. All right, so we're basically going to use 2 things. This is the four-piece combo. we're going to use the mini multi-arc, and we're going to use this to do our echoes now, because this is bigger. And we have a 1-inch circle, so we're going to echo with the 2-inch circle. The 2-inch circle is going to give us the same relationship. It's going to give us a 1/2 inch, just like this is a 1/2 inch. The 2-inch circle will be the 1/2 inch echo here. Okay? Let's cut that thread real quick. So knowing what the relationships are between your templates is also really important. Like, what is 1 inch, and then how much bigger is the other circle, the next circle, the 2-inch or the 1.5. So this is what we've got right now with this border. And I think it does look, a little plain, but I have an idea to make that fancier. We'll start right here at the top, and we're just going to echo just on the one side. I would want to finish out the whole space and then do the entire inside echo and the entire outside echo all at the same time. I think it'd be a little bit tricky to sort of go part way. Let's put this one on. This is the spacer. He needs to go equidistant. He's going to be right in the center, and we should have the same amount of gap on each side. So notice right here for this one that I have to start in a little bit, because in order to echo him, he's going to actually be touching right there at the seam allowance. I was okay with that. I knew that I couldn't fit the full echo in there, but that was okay. As long as it fits, it's still going to create the detail that we want. It's going to create that little bit of an echo right there. Now, as we're sewing down to the circle, what is important is we have a 1/2 inch echo, not a 1/4 inch echo. So we need to make sure that as we sew in, I'm going to put this right here to show you what I mean. We do not want to sew too far. We are going to sew until we are a 1/4 inch away. So I'm not going to do this every time, but I just want you to see the spacing. Visually, I'm going to stop when the foot is that 1/4 inch away, right? And then when I put my 2-inch circle on there, let me show you. He's going to fit perfect like that, right? So then we're touching this circle, and we're just going to go this way. Same thing. When the foot is about a 1/4 of an inch away right there, then we'll just switch over to the other one. And I'm not worrying about being super ultra precise with this. As long as it's approximate, I'm fine with it. So it's okay to eyeball if you want to. We're not looking to have ultra precision with this part of the design. We're just looking to fill the space a little better. The reason that the spacing is important here in this instance, the reason we want to fill it a little bit better, is we want to fill up the border, right? We want to have enough quilting that the border has an appropriate amount of quilting in it. So lining this right up on the center, I can see on both ends that it's got enough space. My foot is basically touching. So don't forget, because I'm one of those people that would just like sew right until I touch, and then I'm like, oh no, what happened? So right here, we would just line that up right on the circle, right on the center line. Make sure that you're touching. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and tack it because I don't know where to stop for this little guy because he doesn't have his other side. So I know this was kind of a little bit rambly, but I feel like we did have some good learning objectives. And as always, what we're trying to share is not that you need this specific template or that specific template, but that you can mix and match the ones you have and play with them and kind of create your own patterns. And the one thing that I was planning to do with this, and I'll kind of show you it with just chalk. I have this idea of basically segmenting this into thirds, and I'm going to sew a little swirl like this and come back, and then I'm going to follow this curvature right here, and I'll fill the next part, curl and come back, and then as I come along here, we'll put one more in there, curl, come back, and then arc to there. And then with the circle, I'm thinking I'm literally just going to do opposite arcs like that. There won't be any center line. It'll just be like a curvy arc. So it'll make like a little half moon. And then This one will bring us right in. We want to go opposite. So if this one curves that way, we want this one to curve this way, right? Come back around all the way to the back and then travel into the next one, all the way to the back, and then curve the opposite way, and then touch. And then where we were on this side, so on this side, we're going to go the opposite way. Now, on the center, I don't feel like this design works very well with this other one. So I would actually track back to the center, down to here, and split it this way. And you can go whichever way you want at this point. You know, it's not going to matter. Well, if we want to go this way, we'll go that way. We'll go the opposite way. There's a weird seam right there, so he's making trouble for me. Okay, go that way. Bring it back to the top, and then here you're going to have to sew down until you get over to your oval on this side. And I would mirror image whatever I did on this side. I'd mirror image it that way so that they look very centered. We can't necessarily make this the same because it has to be whatever it is. You know, if we're doing alternating, it's going to either on one side or the other not match. Then that's just how it is. It's going to look awesome though. And what that does is that puts a little bit more fill in here. So there's a little bit more quilting, but then we got this cool echo, and I think it's going to look really great. So those are just some fun ways that you can play with the tools that you have and get maybe a little bit more value out of it. So hopefully you found some inspiration today, and we're just about finished for today. So I'm going to say goodbye. I will go back through and check for any questions if we've missed them. And I didn't forget that last week we said we were going to do a giveaway of the stitching line discs. I will not tell you a lie. I haven't counted yet to put people's names in. It's been really busy because I start going on a trip on Tuesday morning. So I've been getting ready for that, but I will get that done and I will get that published. So thank you to all who participated last week. Please share if you feel like there's any value for another friend, and let them learn also. And have a great week, you guys. Reminder, no Free Motion Friday next Friday. I will be traveling, and also I will be gone next Sunday. So there will not be Kate on Sundays. Okay, so we'll hopefully if you need a Kate fix or a ruler work fix from Sunday, you can find older episodes and get a chance to watch those ones that you haven't seen. Have a terrific day, you guys. Happy quilting.